Welcome back to 90.1 WECS, a community service of Eastern Connecticut State University. I've got John Ondrasik on the line, also known as Five for Fighting. We've been playing Five for Fighting since the late 1990s, just before the great hiatus. And allow me to introduce to you. I had this great intro, but I can't read right now. I'm out of it. John, how are you?
Good, Mark. How are you doing, buddy?
Wonderful now. It's just been bouncing around. We're in Snowmageddon. I don't know.
Oh, I heard. How bad is it for you guys?
Oh, my goodness. It's horrible. There's snow everywhere. Are you in Hartford yet or in the area?
I won't tell you that I'm sitting in L.A. at, 70 and sunny, so we'll keep that between ourselves.
Oh, that's right. You're coming next week. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm talking to David Lowry later, and he's playing tonight in Hartford.
Yeah, no, we're next Friday.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, enjoy the lovely weather out there.
Yes, we'll do.
So yeah, I've been playing your songs off a Message for Albert back in the late 90s. I did a little stint on commercial radio for a while, and I did play Superman, It's Not Easy. And you're still pumping out the hits.
No, thank you. I've been very fortunate to be able to sustain a career over a decade, and I've always been blessed to be able to make a living writing and singing songs. And we're very excited to come to Hartford. I'm an old NHL guy, and I still remember the Whalers. So every time I come there, I kind of have Kevin Dineen memories. So it'll be a good time.
That's good. Yeah, in reading up on you, I noticed that you were a huge hockey fan. I was wondering if you would have remembered the Whalers. Yeah, everybody here remembers them and misses them. But that'll be cool. We have a minor league team, the Wolfpack, and they do pretty well too.
Awesome. No, hockey's great. I'm an LA Kings fan, so we've been riding a good wave for the last few years, but it's the best sport in the world.
I think it's because you've been playing songs on the ice there for them.
Well, that helps too.
Gets the crowd going.
Yeah.
John, your lyrics are so simple and yet so poignant. I've admired your talent for many, many years. And does it just kind of come naturally for you just to sit down in front of a piano and just start writing?
I wish it did. I mean, it certainly comes natural to sit down at the piano, but the lyrics are very hard. Songwriting is a excruciating process. It's an exercise in failure most of the time, and every once in a while you get lucky. You mentioned Superman. That was a bit of a fluke. I wrote Superman in about an hour from beginning to end, and that's happened in my life maybe 2 or 3 times. Usually it's a long process of rewrites and going back to the drawing board, and certainly the melodies is something that basically just comes from kind of your base talent, but lyrics is really an effort in frustration and grind, and the best lyricists will tell you that, whether it's Leonard Cohen or Stephen Sondheim, go down the list, Joni Mitchell. To me, lyrics really are what allows songs to sustain themselves over the years. And frankly, you mentioned simplicity, and that is very true. The best lyrics are very simple, and when you look at them face value, they seem very easy to write. Trust me, they're not, and that's kind of the key to the unlocking the box is something simple enough that can translate, but has depth and clarity, and certainly expresses a story or a sentiment.
Yeah, and then it seems to take a lot of talent. There's many, I'm sure, different approaches that one could take to write a song like that, and keeping it simple and yet conveying a picture that everybody can see. Do you just start off with a lot of words and kind of whittle them down till you get it to just where you want it to be?
There's many approaches to songwriting. Certainly, there are no rules. Sometimes I sit at the piano and find a melody and start with the melody, and the melody drives the song. Sometimes you write a full lyric on the page, and then you try to put music to that. Many times you just start with a concept, and you're like, okay, 100 Years actually started with the concept about, okay, this song's going to be about the sentiment of living in the moment, and it's going to be a lifetime where the verses reflect different ages. and then you approach it that way. I think sometimes the concept is the key.
Hmm.
So there's really no, people come at it different ways. Elton John, would sit down, and Bernie Taupin would leave him a lyric
Yeah.
at night, and Elton would wake up in the morning and write an amazing melody to an existing lyric. So there's no secret strategy. I think for me, I like to try all different permutations, and that also makes it fun and a little more interesting.
Keeps it interesting. Yeah, that I can imagine. Well, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it because you're doing an awesome job. I feel like you're probably well respected within the industry too. I could see you on like one of those shows where they have the competitions and the young singers come on and need a mentor. I could definitely see you filling that role.
Well, thank you. It's funny coincidence you mentioned that. I actually just wrote a song that we're mixing today for Jordan Smith, who just won The Voice. I think yes and no. I mean, the reality is with my career, I was never a big pop star, and it was really about the songs, and it's still about the songs, and I kind of like it that way. I didn't have certainly the success of Adam Levine or some of those folks. On the other hand, the nice thing is that my songs have seemed to stick around a little bit, and as a songwriter, that's certainly all you can ask for. It's great to have a number one song, but if you can have a song or two or three or four that 10 years after you wrote it, you still hear on the radio, that to me is something that is wonderful, and I feel very grateful for. My favorite songs are from the 70s, right? I'm a 70s baby.
Yep.
I love those great golden age of songwriters, and there's a reason we still hear their songs today. They have stood the test of time, and it's certainly a different era than it was back there, and how we consume music and how people make music. And I'm not going to be the curmudgeon and say it's terrible now, but it's certainly more generic, and we don't have artists writing songs that I think we're going to hear 10, 20 years from now. And those shows, The Voice or American Idol, somebody's got to write those songs they sing, and we need songwriters as well as pop stars.
Ah, very good point. I think your greatest accomplishment is what you give back to the community. You've given us the gift of your music, but you've also made large contributions philanthropically as well. You dedicate a lot of albums to military personnel, I believe, and to tell us about the website, or you did something on a website regarding your song, What Kind of World Do You Want? And can you tell us a little bit more about that and how you raised that money?
Sure. I noticed with, certainly when Superman came out, many charities were using the song to raise money or raise awareness, and it just showed me the power of music in philanthropy. And I jumped right in, and I've been involved with some wonderful people, some champions, some great causes, and the least I can do is lend a song or lend my music. We were excited to deliver 1 million CDs to our troops with a project called CD for the Troops, which had some of the biggest songs for the biggest artists that we gave to our troops. WhatKindOfWorldDoYouWant.com was a website where it was interactive, where people could make their own videos, set it to music, and raise money for various charities. But big picture, I just think for those of us who've been fortunate enough to make a living at this and have songs that people know, a great honor and a wonderful example for my children is to take these songs out there and attach them to causes that are important to me and important to others, and raise some money, raise some awareness, and kind of pay tribute to some great people. And it's a cynical age we live in, but there are some wonderful people doing wonderful things, and I'm very pleased to have my songs be attached to that.
And that's why I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that a little bit, because you are, there's a lot. It's easy to focus on the negativity in life, but there are plenty of people like you doing wonderful things in this world. Is there any way that people can still kind of contribute to this or get involved?
Well, one of the charities that's very close to me is called Augie's Quest. It's Augie Nieto. There's even a song I wrote called Augie Nieto on the Slush record. Augie has ALS. He's been a champion to find a cure for ALS, and so folks can check out Augie's Quest. But I think it's more important just to find charities that are close to you. Do your due diligence, make sure they're doing the right thing and that they're above board. But everybody is connected with somebody who whether it's cancer or ALS or somebody has a military family member. Find charities that are close to you and get involved and do your part. It's rewarding. I look at philanthropy as a selfish exercise, because when I do it, I get so much back, and I meet so many amazing people, and I'm inspired, and it's a great fulfilling exercise that again I think relieves some of the cynicism that we deal with in this age, and makes a difference. How little or how large, it really doesn't matter.
Definitely. I'm going to be a little selfish right now. I'm going to ask you a question about my favorite song that you wrote, Bella's Birthday Cake. It's what I used to play all the time. Can you tell us, I know shortly after the internet got big and there was things like Wikipedia and stuff like that, I found somewhere that described what the message behind the song was all about. But I don't know if it was just somebody's opinion or if it was actually what you had in mind when you were writing that song. But can you tell us a little bit about Bella's Birthday Cake?
Sure. Well, first of all, I have to give you a high five for even knowing that song. That is a very obscure Fight for Fighting song. Bella's Birthday Cake was on it was on a EMI Records album called Message for Albert. It was the first record I ever made. I was very excited. The record came out. A week later, EMI Records closed. So it was a very obscure record. But Bella's Birthday Cake was going to be the single, and it's a lot different than the typical Fight for Fighting songs people know. It's much more raw. It's kind of much more piano rock. And it would have been interesting if that song was successful, what path my career would take. But it's funny you ask about it, because at the time I wrote that song, I was in my kind of early mid-20s, and the song was about a 50-year-old woman who was struggling with her age and going a little crazy. And I just turned 50 a year ago, so I'm living Bella's life, and my birthday cake has a lot of candles, so I certainly relate to her more now, probably than I did when I wrote it. But it's a fun song, and I still every once in a while pull it out for the hardcore Fight for Fighting fans, and it will always have a special place, in my catalog.
That's very cool. So yeah, I think that's the premise that I remember hearing about. You're on tour a lot. I ask this question of everybody. You're on tour a lot across the nation, across the world. What is one of your favorite comfort food spots that you kind of look forward to going to?
Oh God, there's a lot. I mean, when you live in a tour bus, sometimes your options are limited because you're eating around 2:00. But I think back in the day, we probably hit most of the Cracker Barrels. If you're on the West Coast, certainly In-N-Out Burger plays a part in our routine.
Yep.
So we've done our Waffle House more than a few times because it's the only thing open, and it really depends. As we get older, we get a little healthier, so we tend to kind of make our own food or try to reduce the calories. But that's one of the fun things about touring, is that you're meeting different people, and you're in different, especially when you go down to Tucson, you get the best Mexican in the world. When you're in Birmingham, you get the best barbecue. So every city has its expertise, and we certainly take advantage of that.
I don't know what you're going to get when you come to Hartford, because I don't know if we have any expertise, but
we're going to get snow.
You're going to get snow. We're good at that. Yeah. All right, John, you're coming to the Infinity Hall next Saturday, January 30th in Hartford. It's a great venue. It's only a couple years old, and it's a beautiful place.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm playing with quartet. In the last 2 years, I've been doing symphony shows, and it was wonderful because I was able to pull out some songs from my catalog that we usually wouldn't do with the rock band. I've been fortunate to work with some amazing arrangers, composers, so after that was so successful, I said, why don't we take this to some of the smaller markets where we can't necessarily do symphony shows, and I have a quartet with me, and we can play songs like Devil in the Wishing Well and Nobody and Two Lights, and I have some of the greatest musicians in the world. Dave Eggar, the cello player, is Yo-Yo Ma's number 2. it's certainly for me a wonderful experience, and I think the folks will hear something different than they usually expect at a Five for Fighting show. So we look forward to Saturday, and I look forward to seeing some Whaler fans, and my friends from ESPN will be there. So come on out.
That's great. I'm really looking forward to the show. That gonna have a quartet. Or,
it's awesome. They're fantastic.
Wow.
It adds a different level to it, and certainly the hits are cool with them. But I think even for the songs folks don't know, it adds another kind of level of intrigue. And as a performer, for me, it's really exciting and inspirational to listen to these guys play because they're fantastic.
Awesome. John, thanks very much for giving us a call. Oh, you know what? One more thing. I'm going to be talking to David Lowery in a few minutes, and I guess he's fighting against Spotify. And do you have any opinion on, what these websites like Spotify are doing in relation to the artist and kind of taking maybe some royalties away that they could have gotten?
It's really hard. It's hard in this age. And years ago, I actually testified to the Senate about some of these streaming services. And the good news is with Spotify is people aren't just illegally downloading your songs. You are getting paid something, but it's not very much.
Oh, okay.
But the reality, I think the reality too is that's how kids consume music. My kids, they don't download singles. They consume music on Spotify and YouTube. So I think we have to be aware of the landscape. At the same time, musicians have to be compensated for what they do. You have to be able to make a living at music. I think in this climate more than ever, musicians are not being compensated for what they do. And if it just becomes a hobby and nobody can afford to make a living, we're all going to suffer for that.
It's going to stifle their creativity, yeah.
Well, it's just a fact. If you got to make a living, you got to pay your mortgage. And if everybody's, if you're not getting paid for what you do, then you're not going to be able to make music. And I appreciate folks like him, fighting the good fight, and and making sure that it's not just folks it's not just superstars. Frankly, if you're Justin Bieber or whatever, it's like it's not them we're fighting for. It's it's the songwriter that may have one or two songs that wants to sustain a career, or the person on the road selling 10,000 records a year. It's like those folks, they need to be compensated. And, these platforms tend to make a lot of money, and they certainly should share that with the folks who are driving it for them.
Exactly. Thank you very much, John. Very wise wisdom right there. Hopefully we'll get to see your show next Saturday at the Infinity Hall if there's no big, huge snowstorm.
We'll see you Saturday. Go Whalers.
All right, go Whalers.
All right, man.
Stay on the line, John.
Bye-bye.
All righty, John Ondrasik of Five for Fighting, coming to Hartford next Saturday to Infinity Hall. That's January 30th. Definitely want to check out that show with the quintet. Stay tuned. We've got David Lowery from Cracker and Camper Van Beethoven up in just a second. Let's do some Five for Fighting. Here's What If.